Annyeonghaseyo.
I'm Demarshlier.
I'm Ariel.
And we're
Soju for Two.
Okay, so next is going to be a review of, it's either called Silenced or The Crucible.
Yes.
And this is a movie that came out with Gong Yoo, which is the main reason why we watched it. But let's right away say that this was a movie that I would recommend. I don't know what the ratings are, how this works in Korea, but I would not recommend this for anyone who's, a minor. Unless you're watching it with somebody who allows you to watch it, but it is really intense and, upsetting. So I guess right away we'll say that. This is not a story with a happy ending, and it's hard to watch.
Yeah.
So we'll start with that.
So yeah, this is definitely not for a young. It shouldn't be, and that's why it's so sad that this is the way the story is. I mean, that's literally, it's really horrible.
Okay, so the characters for this.
So the two main leads. So we have Gong Yoo plays Kang In Ho, and then Jung Yoo Mi plays Yoo Jin.
Okay, so there's also a really big extended cast who is really important in this movie. We have obviously Gong Yoo and the main female lead who are sort of the exposers of the situation, and then you have the villains who are super villains.
Yeah, and so basically the plot of the story is that Gong Yoo he's a teacher and he's coming to teach at a deaf school
in Mujin.
Yeah,
and we're not sure if Mujin's a real city or not.
I haven't looked it up.
I'm not sure if they changed the name.
But so this is a real story, guys.
It's a real
this
story.
is why it's so disturbing. But so the plot is he comes to this school and he uncovers a case where children are being sexually abused, they're
physically
being beaten,
abused.
And basically the culprits are teachers and principal. And basically it's like something that the entire town is covering up because police
the people who are involved are really influential.
Yeah.
The characters, our villains couldn't be more villainous. We were watching this and we had visceral reactions to the villains in the story. They're just so horrible, and Gong Yoo's character seems so much like a person dealing with an issue. He's so conflicted, and this is just one of those stories that everyone acted so well, so realistic that it's really difficult.
It's heartbreaking.
To watch this.
And honestly, right now we live in the U.S. and there's a huge scandal. Most of our viewers are foreigners. So right now we have a scandal very similar to this going on, both the Penn State case,
school, university,
and with children being abused. And so right now this is an extremely topical movie here for us. And I think everyone needs to watch this to it's because you haven't seen something like this before because it is so graphic.
Yeah, and obviously a lot of the stuff we normally comment on in our movies and things like that don't apply to this, right? We're not going to talk about chemistry or love triangle. That's not the situation here. And this is really a heart-wrenching story about a heart-wrenching situation that will break your heart. This is, I can honestly say, you watch horror movies and you're like, that's terrifying, right? I felt more terrified watching this than I have in any horror movie I've ever seen. It was so upsetting to watch.
We were both crying, just the entire time.
And I think that's what made it such a good movie, right? Because, so it's talking about molestation. And this is why I think that if you're a younger viewer, you probably don't want to watch it. Because instead of just, talking about it.
Like most movies
do. There's, sort of these, they go and flash back to, the situations. And it's, honestly, we couldn't watch. We kept turning away, and it was really upsetting. And in that way, I feel like they were forcing us to deal with this.
Which is something that makes this movie great, because never do you see things like that.
No,
never.
And it was so upsetting.
And that's what made this movie, it just made it such a social issue, because you're being forced to watch these things.
Now, I guess if we could talk about, bad guy turned good, the bad guys in this do not turn good. And that's what's so scary, because it's, based on a real situation. And it's happened not that long ago. And these people, on the end of the story, they say that some of them are still teaching, and it's just...
As someone that's going to be, is teaching in a month, this is horrifying to me. Not that all of Korea is like this, and I don't think that at all. But the things and this happens in the U.S. Clearly this happens here. We just saw what happened in Penn State. So things like this,
upsetting.
It's so, you need to watch it because it's so upsetting.
Yeah.
And I think that if you are a teacher, if you're a student, this is the kind of thing that
this is something we can't let happen.
No.
And I know...
And that's why that's what happened at Penn State. That's why we feel this way, because when we see what happened with people covering it up because these people are, respected or whatever the case was, and it's just, you become so angry watching this. And that's
for us,
really
and this was something we were watching with my husband, and we were kind of, kept pausing the movie because we were having discussions about, what was going on in, with what's happening in our country, and with this, with the own case with this things, and it really brings up, a discussion about this, and, what should be done. And now, obviously, we don't know a lot about the Korean, judicial system, and we're not really sure how all of this worked. But for us, it feels like so upsetting because we have something here called double jeopardy. So that means that you can't be tried for the same crime twice. So while watching this, it was like, if there is some sort of, I mean, I don't know if they have that in Korea, we have no idea.
Yeah.
But here, like, if something ends up and these people would get off, you can't be tried for the same, crime again. So unless that happened for a new crime, these people could get off, and that was what was so scary for us.
The thing too is, I mean, the children that they chose, and these children, I swear, were amazing actors.
Yeah.
They were so, I mean, the fact that they had to act this stuff out was heartbreaking enough. But their acting, the way that they made you feel, I mean, they were just brilliant actors.
Yeah.
And I would say that, when you know about the case itself, is the children, were sort of like orphans, even though some of them have parents, Their
parents either have mental handicaps or issues.
It was literally just every horrible thing you can imagine happening to these children. And I have to say this movie was done really well, but it was so difficult to watch.
And if we're going to talk about cinematography for this movie, 'cause I think that's important. It's a very dull sort of colors and it's like grays and dark greens, and it was interesting because it felt like a scary movie when I started watching this, and you don't really lose that quality in the film at all.
I was thinking of movies to like compare it to, like American movies, and I was thinking like Aaron Brockovich or something. Like we have this person who's advocating, but it's not like Aaron Brockovich because there's no happy ending to the story. And the way this ends is like
really heartbreaking.
Oh my gosh.
The music, we can talk about the music because there's this sort of the song that plays, and I mean, I'm getting chills thinking about it.
Oh my god.
This deaf girl like hears it, and I mean, they play it, and it's this like heartbreaking song. I mean, I don't really know how to watch this. Like, again, I honestly feel like I'm about to start crying, but like, it's one of those things where when you watch this movie, you'll have so many emotions. I think that if you're an adult, you should watch it. I hope no kid ever has to watch this movie because it's so upsetting. Like, I mean, it's one of those things that it's so heartbreaking, but done so well, and Gong Yoo was amazing in it. I know we went from him doing this to, like, Big, which is the opposite of the story, I mean, it's a lighthearted story, and he did a great job. The acting, I don't think anyone in this acted badly. It was superb. Oh
my god, the principal and his twin brother. I mean, that they were so terrifying.
Or their sister or whatever she is, half sister. She is literally the scariest person I've ever seen. While we were watching this, like, we were like, she's like a vampire. She's just terrifying. It was just so scary to watch. So I guess we'll have to sum this up. I'm gonna say that rating this movie, obviously I'm not rating this in like, like, this is a normal movie that we talk about. No, it really isn't. But it was done so well. I was so upset after watching it. I have to give it like a 10. I think that this is one of those things that they did a great job with the movie, with dealing with such a hard subject.
And I would say that the very fact that we had to like literally stop it and have discussions like how this would pertain to like real life events. Because it's based on a true story, but also real life events going on like in the same state where we live. Those kind of like things that make you have discussions are amazing. So I think this is the kind of thing you should just watch because it's just so moving.
And again, if there's something like this is gonna upset you, it's gonna upset you. And I think that's why like I'm not gonna recommend this to anybody who gets upset about situations like this. I mean, use your discretion of whether or not you think you can watch this, because we're telling you, as we've said, for the past 8 minutes,
and
this is really hard to watch.
And that's why, I mean, I think that it's so, it's so difficult to watch, but I think you have to watch it if you're an adult, because you need to see this to be angry enough to know that stuff like this cannot happen. So that's really...
And you have to be like a good citizen. I mean, regardless of what happens in the end, you have to do the right thing, And that's what I think was
this is such like an amazing like moral story, just for thinking about how you need to act in real life. So I think that's what this movie just did for us. It just bring all these conversations. So.
I mean, I would say that I wouldn't watch this again because I think it broke my heart watching it. But I would tell anybody who wants to see excellent acting, and it's not in the genre we watch. I mean, obviously, who watches a genre like this, right? Like, this is a normal genre, but I would say check it out if you want to watch a really compelling, upsetting, movie like this.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Bye, guys.